What if the painful season you are in right now is not a punishment? You feel stuck. You feel confused. You look around and wonder why life suddenly feels so incredibly difficult, especially when you haven't done anything wrong. Because right now it feels like backward momentum. It feels like you are losing ground. It feels like you are being disciplined for a mistake you didn't even make. But what if you aren't falling behind at all? What if this exact struggle is not a demotion, but a prerequisite? Because here is the truth most people miss. God does not crush you to destroy you. He presses you to extract the oil. When you ask God for a bigger blessing, He doesn't just drop it into your lap. He has to build the capacity inside of you to hold it. And that building process, it is deeply uncomfortable. So if you are feeling the heavy pressure today, don't panic. Here are 7 clear signs you are not being left behind, but are being carefully prepared for something bigger. Sign number 1. You are entering an uncomfortable season of isolation. Suddenly your phone stops ringing. Friendships that used to feel effortless start to fade away. You feel incredibly lonely, and worse, you feel completely misunderstood by the people who have known you the longest. It makes you question your own worth. You start wondering if you did something to push everyone away. But what if this isolation is entirely intentional? Often God will separate who He is about to elevate. He will intentionally isolate you to protect you. Because the harsh reality is not everyone in your current circle is equipped to handle your next season. God removes the distractions, the wrong voices, and the draining relationships so you can finally hear His voice clearly. Hosea 2:14 says, "Therefore I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her." God is not leaving you alone. He is just clearing the room so He can finally speak to you without interruption. Sign number 2. Safe doors are suddenly slamming shut. You really wanted that job. You prayed desperately for that relationship to work out. You poured your heart into an opportunity, but suddenly it completely fell through. And it hurts. It feels like a massive rejection. It feels like a failure on your part, and it leaves you wondering why God would let you get so close to something just to pull it away at the last second. But what if that rejection is actually divine redirection? Sometimes God closes doors because He knows your tendencies. He knows that if He left that specific door open, you would gladly settle for good enough. You would get comfortable, and you would stop growing. He has to forcibly shut the door on the good, so you are forced to keep walking toward the great. Revelation 3:8 says, "See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut." But you have to realize something. You cannot walk through the door God has opened for your future if you are still standing there, banging on the door He closed in your past. Sign number 3. A deep agitation with the status quo. You suddenly feel completely unsatisfied. The job, the daily routine, or the environment that used to make you perfectly happy now feels entirely suffocating. And it feels incredibly confusing. You might even feel deeply guilty about it. You look at your life and think, I should be grateful for what I have. But instead of gratitude, you just feel this heavy, unexplainable restlessness. But what if this isn't ingratitude at all? What if this is holy discontent? You no longer fit comfortably in your current environment because your spirit is rapidly outgrowing it. You are like a plant that has become root-bound in a tiny pot. You cannot stay in that small space when you are meant to grow into a massive tree. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." That deep agitation you are feeling right now is the very beginning of your transformation. God is intentionally making you uncomfortable exactly where you are, so you will finally be forced to move to where you truly belong. Sign number 4. Your character is tested in the hidden things. You are facing intense, repetitive challenges in small areas. Your patience is constantly being pushed. Your daily discipline is being squeezed. It feels incredibly tedious to keep fighting the same tiny battles. You feel like you are stuck repeating boring, invisible lessons. No one even sees the private struggles you are facing behind closed doors. It makes you wonder if you are actually making any real progress at all. But what if these tiny tests are actually structural engineering? God is building your foundation in the dark before He builds your house in the light. Because the massive weight of your upcoming blessing will completely crush you if your character is not strong enough to hold it. Luke 16:10 says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much." God is testing you in the small, unseen things today, so He can safely hand you the massive things tomorrow. Sign number 5, unexplainable delays at the finish line. You have done absolutely everything right. You feel completely ready for the next step, but your breakthrough is suddenly stalled right at the very edge. This is easily the most exhausting phase of the entire process, because the endless waiting makes you want to compromise your standards or take matters entirely into your own hands just to make something happen. But what if this frustrating delay is not a permanent denial? God is not just preparing you for the blessing. He is carefully aligning the entire environment, the right people, and the exact timing to be absolutely perfect. Habakkuk 2:3 promises, "Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." God is holding you back at the finish line right now because when He finally releases you, the ultimate impact will be far greater than if you had rushed ahead on your own timeline. Sign number 6. Intense resistance and spiritual warfare. The exact moment you finally decided to get serious about your personal growth or your faith, absolutely everything started going wrong. Unexpected bills pile up, plans suddenly fall apart, and arguments erupt out of nowhere. It is incredibly discouraging, and it makes you seriously think you made a huge mistake by trying to move forward in the first place. But what if this sudden chaos is actually proof of your potential? Massive resistance always precedes massive promotion. The enemy does not waste time attacking empty vessels. He specifically targets the ones carrying something incredibly valuable. 1 Peter 4:12 reminds us, "Do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on you to test you. Your current opposition is not a sign that you are failing. It is the ultimate confirmation that you are headed in exactly the right direction." Sign number 7. An unshakable peace that makes absolutely no sense. Right now, everything around you might be completely chaotic. The circumstances are stressful, the pressure is high, yet somehow you aren't panicking the way you normally would. It feels incredibly strange. You almost feel like you should be worrying, but you physically cannot seem to force yourself to be anxious. But what if this strange, sudden calm is actually your final confirmation? Internal shifts always happen right before external changes. When God completely secures your spirit in the absolute middle of a storm, it is the ultimate sign that He is about to secure your situation. Philippians 4:7 speaks of the peace of God, which transcends all understanding. That unshakable peace guarding your heart right now is your ultimate proof that God has already handled what you are about to walk into. Now you know the 7 clear signs. But here is where almost everyone makes a massive mistake. They recognize the signs, but they still give up right in the middle of the process. They get completely stuck in the in-between. This is that incredibly dangerous, deeply uncomfortable space between the exact moment you prayed and the moment God actually answers. It is so tempting to quit when you are just sitting in the silent waiting room of life. You look around, see absolutely nothing happening, and you assume God has completely forgotten about you. But you must not mistake the quietness of this waiting room for abandonment. The waiting room is not a punishment, it is a spiritual operating room. God is doing deep, necessary work inside of your heart behind those closed doors. If you get impatient and try to force the door open before the process is completely finished, you will sabotage your own blessing. You have to survive the in-between. To successfully survive that quiet waiting room, you have to completely change the way you pray. Stop looking at your current struggles and desperately asking God, "Why is this happening to me?" That specific question only keeps you completely trapped in a helpless victim mindset. blinding you to the actual growth happening right in front of you. Instead, you need to intentionally shift your focus right now and start asking Him, what exactly are you trying to develop inside of me? When you change that one single word, everything in your entire perspective shifts. You instantly stop acting like a victim of your harsh circumstances, and you finally become a dedicated student of the process. You begin to clearly understand that God is using every single frustration, delay, and closed door to actively train you for the exact future you asked Him to bring into your life. If you are feeling entirely isolated today, if safe doors are aggressively slamming shut in your face, if you are facing intense spiritual warfare and completely unexplainable delays, do not panic. You are not falling apart, and you are definitely not being punished. You are simply being built. Every single frustrating test you are enduring right now is perfectly preparing you for the exact blessing you prayed for. Please, do not quit in the absolute middle of your own preparation. If you truly receive this word today, confidently declare it by commenting, "I trust the process," down below. Subscribe to this channel if you are ready to keep growing through your current season. Stay incredibly patient, keep walking forward, and trust exactly what He is building.